If you truly want to understand the danger of inflation, you have to go back to a time when money was real, when currency had value. Because the only reason you have inflation is even possible is because we're not using real money. How can you have inflation when you're trading with salt, when you're trading with olives, intangible items? If you weigh your silver by weight, the shekel of the tabernacle, you can't really have inflation because you're not printing more and it does not lose its value. The olives are the same, unless of course there's a year of drought and prices go up, but then when there's abundance, prices go down. Demand and supply, right? It's not inflation, it's a seasonal swing. But inflation is something different. Inflation, like I said, is only possible because we've stopped actually being connected to the earth, connected to life, to reality. I saw an olive grove not too long ago, had 50, maybe 100 trees of olives, and they have just been trimmed. And you could see the trimming was done so brutally. And I am guessing, based on what I saw, they used some sort of a major machine with giant saw blades, just cut the trees on the side and the top. All the trees are cut perfectly on the same height, and it's such a brutal cut. You can see there's some thin branches that were cut very sharply, very quickly. And you can tell, if you look at it, that it was one man with a big tractor with giant blades that did it probably in half an hour. And I'm thinking to myself, well, 2,000 years ago, it would have been 10 to 15 men taking their times, pruning the tree gently, cutting every branch with attention, making sure it has enough exposure to sun, plucking the fruit. But how can you hire 10 to 15 men today? Back then, they would have taken a share of the crop and that would have been enough. That's food. And what else do you need? You don't need much more than food. You have your water source for the home. You have the home already built for the most part. What expenses do you really have? You're just eating and drinking and doing whatever other craft, selling merchandise or, sewing clothes. Everything was cheap. It was just there. The thing of the earth, it grows on the earth. That's what you trade. Some men grow olives, some grow whatever, oranges, and you trade. Some have sheep, they sell wool, some have cotton. You trade this for that. So you didn't need much. And 100 trees definitely produce enough food in abundance for the owner to make a profit and for the 10 to 15 laborers to get their fill. Remember the story of Ruth and Boaz? Ruth and Naomi were living off of whatever she could glean from the field, and she wasn't the only one. There were other women, and of course they were only the gleaners. They did not actually go for the main harvest. That was for Boaz and his workers and his family. And that is what they lived on. But today, who can live off of that? A few olives? What would that amount for? A few hundred shekels? That's not even my rent for the month. Because we've so destroyed ourselves in this godless pagan system. Digital currency, all of this man-made money, man-made coin, that there is no true value. Food has no value. Food, which should be the most expensive thing, is rather cheap, and again, rather cheap, not really, but all things considered, and the things that have no value are extremely expensive. The farmers in Israel are pretty much going bankrupt. We've talked about this before. The agriculture in Israel is suffering because people keep trying to lower the price, to lower the payment for the farmers, to pay them less. While other professions such as software engineers and high-tech and all of these things that have literally no importance or significance to survival and existence, they make riches. You know how much software engineers make? $250,000 a year, $250,000 a year, $100,000 a year, ridiculous amounts of money. Think about it. And $1. You go to the grocery store, you buy a handful of cucumbers, Persian cucumbers, you buy 5 of them for $1. Maybe more, maybe less, but you get the point. So you're making $100,000 a year, and the guy growing cucumbers sell 5 of them. Obviously, he sells it for less than what you pay at the grocery store, because the grocery store also has to make profit. So you've bankrupted the farmers. How can he hire 10 to 15 laborers to work in his field? He can barely support his own family. So of course he has to have this tractor to replace the men, and now those men are out of a job. And you say, well, they can get another job. But what do you do when everybody's doing the same thing? What do you do when AI replaces the other job? There is no other job. You've cut out humanity from the income source. You've raised the cost of living so high that only the rich can afford to live. Who can afford this life? Everything is so expensive. Just walk around the street. That's what everybody's talking about all day long. The cost of living, cost of living. It's the constant theme of people's conversations. And that's why people get so stingy, because now, well, it's so expensive. I can't afford to give anything. I have to save. I have to invest. I have to make more. That's why network marketing schemes are so successful, because they sell you the dream of financial independence. How would you like to afford anything you want, never have to worry about money again? Well, I get it. I fell for that once, until I realized the truth, that they too are on their way down to Sheol. Because at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, whether you admit it or not, this earth belongs to God and He's in control of it. He gives us the illusion of control, but really He provides. Remember Yitzchak, the son of Abraham, how his vineyards produced 100 times more than the other ones that belonged to the Philistines, and that's why they got jealous of him? The Lord can give the increase or He can give the decrease. He can cause a 3.5-year famine or a 3.5-year blessing. He can feed you with 1 jar of flour, even less than that, with a couple of tablespoons of flour and a drop of oil for an eternity. He can take a jar of oil and fill up 100 jars of oil from that jar, like He did with the woman of the prophet. The Lord can do anything. We celebrate the miracle of Hanukkah, but we don't really believe in Hanukkah, do we? If you did, why would you constantly strive for more? More, expensive. Why don't you just focus on doing what's right? Seek ye the kingdom of God first, the rest will be given unto you. Doesn't mean you're going to be wealthy and rich, but it means that the Lord will take care of your needs. So if you are a farmer, support your people, support the poor, support the widows and the Ruth and Naomi's of the world. Now, I don't say you need to get 10 to 15 men working for you, because those days are over. But don't be thinking just about yourself and how you can make more. That's not righteousness, and we talked about it in the other message. Inflation will cost you. That's a given. I talked about the credit card companies. You're gonna be in debt, yes. But who do you fear more? That is the real question here. Who do you fear? Because whoever you fear, you will serve and obey. That's your God. Is the IRS your God because you fear them? Or is the Lord your God? because you fear him. That was the whole message of Eliyahu with the prophets on the mountain and with Yehoshua at the end of the book of Joshua. Choose today whom you will serve, which God. What will you make your God? The government, the bank? I gotta make those payments. Or what? We're gonna drop your credit score? Sure, that might make you uncomfortable. You might not be able to get some very good rates on your mortgage and not such a shiny car when you go to get a lease. Yeah, that will sting a little bit. But what is the alternative? Would you rather drop your God score because you failed to make his payments? I mean, it's just common sense. I'd rather drop my credit score to minus 1,000 billion before I ever drop my God score and fail to make his payment. Because I fear the Lord, and he comes first for me. But that's just my choice. So I'm not worried about how much things cost. Sure, it stings a little bit because we have to conserve, we have to get a little less, we have to conserve, be on a stricter budget. We don't eat as good as we would like, we don't eat as much as we would like, but we're still alive. And Proverbs even say, better to eat a slice of bread with peace than a debaucherous carne asada burrito feast with strife and wickedness. It doesn't matter. But you people, most of you, I'm not saying all of you, but most of you are people of the flesh. You live by the flesh. You think by the flesh. You want to satiate the flesh. That's what you care about, not the spirit. So you don't value peace. You don't value the word of God, the spirit of God. And that's why you're the guy that would buy a tractor and fire 15 guys. You're the one that would put a machine in your factory and lay off 1,000 men. You're the one that would implement AI and get rid of an entire department of people. Because you can save a few bucks. Because you don't care about people. It's not about them. You don't care about their families, their children, their incomes, their bills, their tithes and offering. Remember, it's not just one man that you hurt. You fire one man, well, what did he do with his money? How many people did he support? How many widows and orphans was he giving money to? You didn't think about that, did you? You just thought, well, if I bring an AI robot, well, he doesn't sleep, doesn't take vacation, I don't have to pay him, I can save $100,000 a year. And more, don't forget paid holidays and vacation and bonuses. Wow, I can save $100,000 a year. Well, maybe so, but are you really saving anything? You're only destroying yourself. Think about these things. The Lord called us to be with each other, for each other, support each other. Love your neighbor as yourself. We are a community. Whatever you have done to the least of these, you have done unto me. Well, I know that because many of you already have replaced God in your heart for something else. In Israel, they've replaced the blessing of God with desalination technology. They replaced the protection of God with the Iron Dome. They replaced the weaponry and vengeance of God with their alliance with the US and the ballistic missiles and the nuclear reactor in Dimona. They already have replaced God, so surely they're going to replace me. Who am I? I'm nobody. I'm just a slave to the system, a cog in the wheel, there to make them rich. So do not be surprised about these things. They are not new. They might be new to you. It has always been that way. Since the fall into sin, men have been cannibalizing itself. Put your trust in the Lord and Him alone. Do what is just and right, and you will see the glory of God when He comes. Choose to rebel, do what is wicked, you're still going to see His glory, but that glory will consume and destroy you and give you the wages of your sin, which is death. So choose wisely. You're gonna have to choose to save something, and for your sake, it better not be your money, but your soul.